I found the truth on a tablet that wasn't meant to be recording. It was the kind of discovery that rewrites everything you thought you knew about the people you love most. My name is Marion. I'm 68 years old, and I'm going to tell you about the 3 years that broke me and the 7-year-old who accidentally saved me. When George died, I thought I knew what killed him. The doctor said his heart simply stopped. He was 66, healthy. He walked 3 miles every morning without fail, never smoked, watched his cholesterol. We had plans. We were supposed to travel after he retired. We were supposed to have time. The funeral was a blur. People brought casseroles. I nodded at the right moments. Paul, my son, kept his arm around my shoulders. He told me I didn't need to worry about anything. He said, "Mom, move in with us. Lydia and I have the spare room. You shouldn't be alone right now." I was grateful. I was broken. I said yes without thinking. That was my first mistake. The house was nice enough, a suburban home with a good kitchen and a backyard where Ethan, my grandson, played. He was only 5 then. Sweet boy. But living there was like slowly drowning in someone else's home while smiling through it all. It started small. Lydia, that's my daughter-in-law, she reorganized the kitchen. I kept my things in the wrong drawers, apparently. Then she moved my bedroom furniture around without asking. She said it made the room look bigger. Then she moved my things to the garage. She said I wasn't using them. But the cruelty had a script. There was intention behind it. She would talk to Paul loudly, so I would hear, about how tired she was of having a 3rd child in the house. She needed help with Ethan, she said, not another person to take care of. She told the neighbor that I didn't wash my hands properly. She said this in the kitchen while I was standing 10 feet away, pretending I couldn't hear. The strange thing about being humiliated slowly is that you start to believe it. After 3 years, I believed I was a burden. I believed I was dirty, incompetent, in the way. I ate my meals quickly and alone. I stopped asking questions. I became smaller. Paul didn't see it, or he did, and he couldn't do anything about it. I don't know which explanation hurt worse. 2 years went by like that. Then another year. Ethan grew. He turned 7. He was a quiet, observant kid, the kind who notices everything and says little. It was a Tuesday in March. Lydia was at the grocery store. Paul was at work. It was just me and Ethan in the house. He was playing with his tablet in the kitchen. One of those educational devices they give kids now. He set it down on the counter, propped up against the fruit bowl, and went to watch TV in the other room. The tablet was recording. It had been recording for 45 minutes. I didn't know that then. That evening, Paul came home late. Lydia arrived home about 20 minutes after him. I heard them in the kitchen, their voices low. I was in my room, which didn't feel like my room, reading. But I could hear her. Lydia. Her voice was sharp with ultimatum. Either your mother leaves by the end of the month, or I tell her what really happened with your father. There was silence, long silence. Then Paul said, Don't. That was all. Just one word. I sat in that borrowed room and felt everything shift. Something was wrong with what I'd been told. The ground beneath my understanding had cracked wide open. I didn't confront him that night. I waited. I didn't know what else to do. The next morning, I found Ethan playing with the tablet again. I asked him, casually, if he'd been using it the night before. He said yes, he'd left it recording in the kitchen. He did that sometimes. He liked looking back at videos. My hands shook as I asked him if I could look through the tablet. He was 7. He handed it to me without question. I found the video. 45 minutes of our kitchen, most of it showing the refrigerator, the counter, an empty room. Then, at the 43-minute mark, Paul and Lydia came in. I played it with my headphones in. I had to hear it 3 times before the words made sense. Lydia, either your mother leaves by the end of the month, or I tell her what really happened with your father. Paul, don't. Lydia, I can't do this anymore, Paul. The guilt is eating me alive. We had to tell her. We should have told her years ago. Paul, Mom doesn't need to know. It won't change anything. Lydia, it changes everything. She deserves to know why he died. I pressed pause. My heart was doing something dangerous. I called my sister-in-law, Claire. She'd always been sharper than me, more practical. She was a paralegal before she retired. I told her what I'd heard. I didn't tell her what I suspected. She made some calls. It took her 2 days. George hadn't had a simple heart attack. The stress on his heart was very real, but the stress had a source. Debt. Massive, secret debt. He'd taken out a second mortgage on our house, $195,000, without telling me, for gambling. Online gambling mostly, poker sites, sports betting, the kind of thing that starts small and becomes a black hole. Our son Paul had been feeding that hole, making the payments, covering it up, trying to manage his father's addiction the way an adult child sometimes tries to manage their parents, with secrecy and sacrifice, and the belief that it will somehow get better on its own. It didn't get better. George's body kept track of the stress, even if his mind tried to ignore it. A stress like that, a secret like that, lives in your chest. It lives in your heart. The doctor said his heart just stopped. They weren't wrong, but they were incomplete. And Lydia knew. Somehow she had figured it out, and she resented it. Not the debt, not even the gambling, but the lie. She resented paying for her father-in-law's deception. She resented that I didn't know. She resented that I was living in a house on money that was never real, benefiting from a lie. I sat with that information for 1 day, just 1 day. The next evening, I asked Paul and Lydia to sit down. They were nervous. They knew something was coming. I played the tablet recording. I watched their faces. Paul's went white. Lydia looked something like relief, as if a fever had finally broken. I told them what Claire had found. I told them I knew about the mortgage. I told them I knew about the gambling. I told them I knew their marriage had been held together by the weight of a secret they couldn't carry alone. Paul cried. He said he was sorry. He said he didn't want me to know because he didn't want me to hate George. He said George was sick and ashamed, and he was just trying to protect us all. I looked at Lydia. I said something I needed to say. You were right to be angry. You were right to want me to know the truth. But you were cruel about it. You were cruel to me for 3 years. She looked down. But you were also the only honest person in this house. The only one who cared enough to tell the truth instead of hiding it. I don't forgive you for how you treated me, but I understand why you were suffocating. George's life insurance was $425,000. Paul had put it in a trust years ago, something George set up without my knowledge. It was part of the architecture of the secret. I had an attorney transfer it to my name. I paid off Paul's mortgage. That was part of his burden to carry. I kept the rest. 6 months later, I moved into a small apartment across town. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, clean counters that I control. A view of the parking lot that doesn't remind me of anyone else's life. I know exactly where my money is. I know exactly what's in my kitchen drawers. I sleep without listening for sounds in the hallway. For the first time in years, the silence around me feels like safety instead of abandonment. I see Ethan sometimes. He's 9 now. He doesn't know what his tablet did. He doesn't know he was the one who opened the door. Paul and I are rebuilding something, but it's careful. It's honest now. But it took 3 years of humiliation and a recorded tablet to get here. The thing I've learned, the thing that matters, is this. The person who holds you underwater is not always the enemy. Sometimes they're the one you love. Sometimes you've already given them permission. Sometimes you don't notice you're drowning until someone else's accident reveals the truth. I trusted George. I believed in Paul. I let Lydia's cruelty convince me that I deserved it. The tablet kept recording. The truth kept waiting. And when it finally came out, it tasted like grief and freedom all at once. I'm 68 years old. I know my own name now. I know my own money. I know the difference between a secret and a lie, and I know which people in my life have the courage to tell me the truth, no matter how much it costs them. That tablet was just a piece of plastic and glass, but it was honest in a way I hadn't been with myself in 3 years. Sometimes the person you trust most is the one holding you underwater. That's the part of the story nobody tells you until you're standing on solid ground again, finally breathing, finally seeing the scars.